Hello everyone, I'm Geek Freak and welcome to the video. Now, before I get started, there's just one thing I want to say. This video is an educational video, and everything in this video is just that, educational. And I know that YouTube doesn't like us saying certain things or showing certain things or talking about certain things, but I am going to be talking about the positives and the negatives within the subject of this video. So, with all said and done, let's resume with the video. So, roughly around, I don't know, about like 2-3 something months ago, I made this poll asking you guys, which do you guys like the most? A fantasy guy or girl, a fictional character, or a real life guy or girl? You know, the real deal. And then, when I got the results about, I don't know, about like a week later or something like that, and apparently, more people voted fictional characters than the real deal. And when I saw this poll, I got really concerned. The fact that more people prefer fantasy characters than real people. And the reason why I was concerned is because, well, basically, to me, it just feels a shame that people doesn't want to, like, interact with, like, the opposite sex. Both men and women. The fact that some men and women don't want to interact with the opposite sex just seems lonely to me. The fact that some people just want to, like, stick with, like, a fantasy character than being with a real person. To me, it just seems really, really sad. Now, listen, before anybody starts saying anything, like, who are you to judge? If I like a fantasy character, if I like my waifu or my husband foo or whatever females say about their guy fantasy character, listen, just hear me out first of what I have to say. Because originally I was going to make a video on how people should stop wasting their time with fantasy characters and start going on dates with people. That's originally what I was going to do for a video. And then after a while I started to rethink things, realize a few things, and I started to realize the benefits of fictional characters and settings. Now, like every weeb, there are female characters out there that I really do like, either because they're beautiful, or they've got like a good personality, or how cool they are, or they've got the right proportions on their bodies. You guys and girls know what I'm talking about. Now, to my female viewers, I just want you girls to understand that I'm going into this video from a male's perspective, right? But if you ladies was to see it from my point of view, in your perspective, I'm sure that you girls will understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I just want to get that out of the way, and hopefully you guys will understand what I'm trying to say. And when I mean guys, I'm talking about both the males and females, okay? Okay, let's continue. Now, when it comes to female characters, I like big boobs, I like nice asses, and basically the entire body of the female anatomy. And I'm sure all you guys know what I'm talking about. And to my girl audience, you girls love the male anatomy. You know, the male body. That's if you're straight. But if you're gay, it's going to be, vice versa. Anyways, when you look at a character, and you think that character's attractive, or they're handsome, or they're good looking, or the character has an attractive personality, or they have the right parts in the right places, you know what I'm trying to say. And you know what? I get it. Humans are attracted to beautiful things, and near perfection. And in fantasy, that is where perfection lives. Well, not exactly live, but you know what I'm trying to say. If you're a great artist, or just an artist in general, you can draw your characters into any shape you want. You can make them look intimidating, you can make them look meek, that sort of stuff. You can make them more ladylike or more gentlemanlike. You can make them look like bitches. You can make them look like bastards. Sorry about those last two, but you know what I'm trying to say. And you can make their portions on their body of whatever the hell you want. And considering the sort of characters that anime has brought out, you're bound to be attracted to these characters. Hell, even some of the male characters I think are attractive. No homo. Like Sebastian from Black Butler. And I'm sure some of you ladies out there finds him attractive. Or maybe you're attracted to somebody else, like somebody like Crossy who likes Turles. And even though I thought that people should stop looking at all these fictional characters and try and find some real people, and even though I think it's a great thing that people would do that, fantasy is okay too. And you know what, I'll say this, it is fantastic to have fantasy characters. And I don't mean like fantasy characters, they're like from a fantasy world or something like that. I mean, you guys know what I'm trying to say. Fictional characters, And sometimes we want to see our favourite characters, or characters in general, to be, well, wearing less, if you know what I mean. Fan service. Or, to the ladies, man service. And you know what? I do love fan service. As a man, I do love seeing boobs and ass and legs and all that stuff. I mean, come on, I love women. And even though I do love fan service, sometimes I don't like seeing it in shows. Like, let me ask you guys something. Let's just say, for example, you had a show like Cowboy Bebop. Now, this series is a classic, and it's very well known throughout the anime community. And look at the series Monster. This is one of the greatest anime series of all time. And look at Fullmetal Alchemist. This series is well beloved by the whole anime community, and there is next to no fan service in these three shows. And in my opinion, if they was to put like, fan service or man service into these series, I think that would ruin the tone and the story of these series. I mean, come on, I don't want to be horny while I'm watching a show. Now listen, I'm not being a prune and I'm not saying that, oh, there should be no nudity in anime at all whatsoever. It depends on the situation. I mean, having a girl show off her boobs just for the sake of just showing her boobs in a series, for example, like Monster, would just ruin the series. But there is a time and a place where nudity can take place. Again, let me go back to Monster for a second. Again, this series does not have any fan service in it. It doesn't have any of the tropes that we know today, like some guy walking into the wrong bathroom and female characters showing off their cleavage, or there's a wardrobe malfunction. You guys get it, you know what I'm talking about. None of that stuff is in this series. And you know what? I'm glad that there isn't any. But there can be a time when nudity is appropriate. Like for example, there's this character called Martin in the series Monster, and he goes into a room and he sees his girlfriend cheating on him. And you know what? She's fully nude. And I think that's the only time that you ever see breasts in the series. And it isn't in that stereotypical anime thing that we see. It was a down-to-earth situation. Now, something like that is okay. Because the series isn't trying to make us horny. The series was trying to tell us a down-to-earth story. But when it comes to like comedies or eroms or fan service shows, and in those sort of situations, in these type of anime is okay. Like for example, Azuki-chan wants to hang out. Now, if you've seen this series, you know what part of the female anatomy that they were trying to show, while trying not to show it. Because this is a comedy slice of life show. But my favourite character in this series is Tsuki Yuzuka. And even though she's 44 years old, she is a total babe. Or maybe I have a thing for MILFs, I don't know. But yeah, even though it's a comedy slice of life anime, almost the entire joke is the breasts. Okay, not the entirety of the series, but you know what I'm trying to say. And you know what? That's fine. Because after all, it is a comedy show. And again, it is showing us boobs, but it's not exactly showing us boobs, if you know what I'm trying to say. But anime can also go even more pervy, if you know what I mean. Like for example, Bikini Warriors. And again, there is some comedy to this, and the main joke is that the Bikini Warriors are in bikinis, and sometimes they will get into hijinks where they're in a pervy situation, where they end up naked, or something along those lines. And then you've got some borderline hentai like interspecies reviewers. Now, if I was to go into details of what this series is all about, I'm sure YouTube wouldn't be too happy. So when I say borderline hentai, you know what to expect. And then you go to the really hardcore stuff, which is these two things. Again, very self-explanatory. Anyways, the point is, what I'm trying to say is, I don't like any forced fan service ecchi stuff within a series, but I am okay with nudity being in down-to-earth shows like Monster, or dark series shows like Berserk, like that one thing that happened at the Eclipse. You know, it depends on the situation, but if they was to put in fan servicey stuff within all anime, just for the sake of, oh, showing some boob to teenagers. Again, there are plenty of anime out there that doesn't have any fan service, but they turn out to be really, really good shows. Hell, most of the anime that I love barely or doesn't have any fan service in it. You know, Trigon, Monster, Cowboy Bebop, Fullmetal Alchemist 2003. But in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, they actually show Winry in the bath. And I was like, dude, what the hell? I mean, in the 2003 version, Winry wasn't put in any sexy situations. And that part where she's in the bath was just put in there just to pander to people who likes Winry as a waifu. I mean, yeah, it's only one shot, and some people will say, oh, it's not a big deal. And even though I know that Winry is a good-looking woman, I didn't see Winry like that in the 2003 version. She was a funny, deep, tragic, and helpful character. And that is how I saw Winry. I saw her as a genuine, great character. And it really ticks me off that they would just put her in a bath and for us to like watch her bathe. Even if she is a good-looking character, for me it was just distracting to see Winry in that scene where she was having a bath. I mean, yeah, it's only one shot, but it's still distracting to me. And there was no need for it. Now, there's one thing I want to bring up. Now, when it comes to fan service, where do you mostly see fan service within an anime? And I'm not talking about the situations that the characters are in, but I'm talking about the location of where the characters are, and the age of where those characters are from. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about high school girls. I mean, come on, why isn't anybody even talking about this? I mean, this is the elephant in the room. Now, when it comes to like fan servicey shows, from the very, very light shows to borderline hentai shows, but they don't actually go into go across the line of where it's hentai. Now, when it comes to fan service shows, the age range can be somewhere around 13 to 18 years old. And sometimes you would get an adult in there that's over the age of 18. Now listen, there are loads of anime out there, and I haven't seen all of them, but the proof is in the pudding. We all know that there's like fan service stuff within these shows, within high schools. I mean, does anybody else find this creepy? I mean, even I forget sometimes that these guys and girls are in high school. I mean, does anybody else feel uncomfortable after now that I've said this? But saying that, there are two things that we need to take account on. Number one, the age of consent in Japan is at the age of 13. Well, it depends on the areas. Some is 14, some is 15, some is 16. It depends on the area of Japan. And number two, obviously, these sort of anime is going to be targeted towards teenagers. I mean, come on, you guys would never ever see any of this in the West. They would never ever make any animation that has beautiful men or beautiful women and put them into an animation and have them all skimpy and topless. I mean, come on, you know that wouldn't fly in the West compared to what Japan does. I mean, seriously, why do they always need to be in high school? I mean, can we have some, like, you know, college characters, or characters in a hospital, or characters in the army, or on a fishing boat, or characters in an office? Can we at least have some characters that's over the age of 18? You know, somewhere between 19 to 50 years old? And I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, come on, Geek Free, you can't seriously like 50-year-olds. Okay. Number one, I like older women. And number two, Yuzaki-chan wants to hang out the series as a character called Tsuki Yuzaki, and she's around 44 years old. And I'm telling you, she is one cute MILF. I mean, seriously, they need to have more adults in ecchi fanservice shows. And I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, but Geek Freak, you do realize you can find more adults on, well, these places. And yes, I know. It would make more sense for adults to be on, you know, those sort of places. And you know what? I'm not knocking that. I mean, why show adult characters in ecchi fanservice shows or manga or books when you can watch them on, well, those sort of places? Well, of course you can have adult characters on those sort of places. I wouldn't mind seeing full-grown adult women in ecchi or fanservice hijinks, but I'll get back to that in a second. I want to get back to the bone as to why I made this video. Now, even though I said people should go out with dates with each other and meeting up with people, and people should be couples and so on, I do see the benefits of fantasies and stories. Like, for example, do you guys remember that book, 50 Shades of Grey? Millions upon millions of women was reading this book, and I'm not really 100% sure what was in this book, but I think it has something to do with like bondage and domination or something. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but millions of women loved reading this book. Maybe they loved the domination and bondage fetish. Maybe it was the romance between the woman and the guy. Again, I don't know. I think millions of women wanted to put themselves into that situation of what was happening to this female that was in this book. Now, even though this was a fantasy within a book, that doesn't mean that the women who love this book doesn't mean they can't experience or what happens in this book. If they was to find a partner, I'm pretty sure that their partner would oblige to their fantasies. And this is just one book, or a book franchise. There are plenty of books that's like 50 Shades of Grey, but they have different fetishes. And you know what, I wouldn't name the fetishes, but I'm pretty sure you two wouldn't be too pleased about that. So you guys are going to have to use your imaginations of what I'm trying to say. And yes, there are things in real life that you can try, because it's two consenting adults that's fulfilling their desires with these fetishes. And yes, I know I say fetishes is weird, but yeah, let's continue. Let's have a look at South Park for a second. In Season 2, Episode 6, Cherokee Hair Tampons, in the side story, Mr. Garrison decides to write his novel, and when he finishes it, he goes to the publishers, and at first the publishers said that Mr. Garrison's book wasn't a romance novel, and the publisher said that it's really gay. And then Mr. Garrison said something along the lines of, do you really think that women want to know about the female anatomy? No! Listen, I've seen women read these things. They skip along until they get to the part with the ding-dongs. That's what women want, and that's what I'm giving to them. Okay, that's not exactly what he said, but the full video can be found on YouTube. And to be honest, Mr. Garrison isn't wrong, because women are just as pervy as men. I mean, come on, look at all the yaoi manga there is. Women, and sometimes gay guys, read these things, and 75% of these things are grounded in real life. But what about the other half, or the other 25%? What are in those things? Well, you know, most of the time when you read a book or you read a manga or something like that, and two consenting adults are taking part in adult stuff, well, sometimes there are things in real life that can happen or you cannot do. Now, we know all about bondage and domination and all that stuff, but what if you had a fantasy that you wish you could do, but it could never ever happen. For example, there's this one series called Diabolical Lovers, and it's about this girl who lives alongside several good looking guys. But they're not just regular normal guys, they're also vampires. And sometimes they would bite her in order to drink her blood. So you got yourself 2 in 1. In this situation, number 1, they're vampires. I mean, if you've got like a vampire fetish, you're bound to like this one. And number 2, it's a reverse harem. You're one girl surrounded by several good looking guys that really wants you. I mean, come on, there's bound to be a few girls out there that wouldn't find this fantasy hot to them. The point being, there are fantasies in real life that you can do, and there are other fantasies that would never ever happen. That's why they're in these books and they're in these animes and mangas and so on. I mean, come on, we know there's no such thing as vampires, but there are women out there that does fantasize about vampires. But there are mangas and books and so on out there for women to indulge in. You get what I'm trying to say now? And to the ladies of my audience, I'm sure you girls have certain fantasies that, you know, would never ever happen, but you read about them or you watch them or whatever on different medias. Now, when it comes to guys, just like women, we too have our own fantasies. Maybe a one guy loads of girls scenario, harem thingy. Like I said, there are loads of fantasies and fetishes that guys like, the same as women. You know, each individual is unique in their own way. I'll give you guys one of my own examples. Now, when it comes to fantasy, and can't happen in real life, there's a series called Cat Planet Cuties, and for a Today show, it is pretty damn tame, compared to what we have now. There are a few things in this series that I do like, but one episode stands up among the rest of them, and that is episode 8, We Had a Duel. Now before I continue, there's one thing I want to explain. In this series there are these bullets, called Cation bullets, that only damage non-living matter. So basically, if these bullets was to hit you, they wouldn't harm you, but whatever is on your person, like maybe you're holding something, or in this instant, clothes. And these things are my favourite thing in any anime. In fact, these things are an ecchi fan's dream come true. But the sad problem is, these things have only ever been used 1 or 2 times. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that these things are from like alien origin. Like I said, these things have only ever been used like 2 or 3 times. But they do get their moment to shine in episode 8. So basically, in episode 8, Manami and Hoi decide to have a showdown in the nearby forest, just to settle their differences. Now these two are really good with weapons, so they decide to use these Cation bullets to use against one another. So basically, they're going to be having a game of paintball, but in this case, they're going to be using Cation bullets. And remember, these things destroy non-living matter, but the actual person will be safe. It doesn't harm living things. And knowing that, you're probably thinking that you're going to see some action between these two, firing at each other, destroy a piece of clothing there, ducking and diving trying to avoid the bullets, and a little piece of their clothing is destroyed, bit by bit. And sadly, we don't see that. In the end, they just settle their differences, and then there are these 2 sniper women trying to snipe them, and then Ahoy and Manami tricks the 2 sniper women, and the 2 snipers are shot multiple times until they're completely naked. But don't worry, they live in the end. But hey, at least somebody got stripped by these things. And that was the best part of the episode, where these 2 army women gets their clothes destroyed, and they're at the mercy of Ahoy and Manami. Again, they live, they're just knocked out in a crate somewhere, delivered back to the main bad guy of the series. Again, that was the best part of the episode. We got to see those things used in action, and to be honest, it was sad that we never got to see those things used again, especially in a war game. I mean, come on, those things are ecchi fans' dream come true. Here's another example. In the series Fairy Tail, there's a character called Lucy, and basically, she's the main series fan service girl, and all sorts of things happen to her in naked hijinks. But I think my favourite Lucy moment is in the episode 127, The Terror of Invisible Lucy. Okay, basically, Lucy takes a bath and she puts in an ointment that she made ages ago. And when she gets out and she looks in the mirror, she can't see herself, so the ointment has made her turn invisible. So she gets stressed and she notices that she's invisible but her clothes isn't. And if she goes outside, she knows that she's going to cause a panic. Yeah, you guys know where this is going. So she strips down and she's outside naked trying to get to the Fairy Tail Guild. So she has to be quiet and try not to bump into anybody. And she gets into all sorts of hijinks for about 2 to 3 minutes. I don't know, the fact that she's invisible and naked is just funny and hot to me. And there's also this one manga series called Tama Kick. And basically, in this manga, the main female character in this manga is a supernatural detective, or her foot is a supernatural something. And more or less, she and this other female cop gets into all sorts of hijinks, where they get captured by a perv, or they end up getting naked because they were either forced to, or somebody else did it themselves. And I would like to bring something up. Why don't we ever have more adult females go into sexy hijinks? Again, like those bullets from Cat Planet Cuties, or they go invisible, or they're trapped in a time stop, I mean, you can have it both ways. You can either have it tame, like you would see in fan service ecchi shows, or you can take the over 18 route and do something similar, but without the sex. I'm sorry, I'm just really sick and tired of that studios won't use more adult women for ecchi and fan service shows. I mean, is anybody else annoyed at this? That they don't use adult men or women in ecchi fan service shows? Because, you know, that would be nice. I mean, seriously, why don't they do that more? You can still have comedy and sexy hijinks with adults, you know. Again, there are loads of fetishes out there, and fantasy situations that people are into. You have ENF, ENM, bondage, eroms, piercings, tattoos, pretending to be vampires, exhibitionism, voyeurism, roleplay, foot fetishes, you know, all that sort of stuff. Now, I highly recommend that you guys go and check out DeviantArt. There are loads of stories of fetishes and fantasies made by fans for fans. And yes, I know sometimes, if not most of the time, you want to have a nice visual of the characters, but sometimes the imagination can be more powerful than the actual visual thing that you're looking at. So if you guys was to give reading a try, I'm sure that your imagination will run wild. Or hell, why not write down your own fantasies and put them on DeviantArt? You guys will be surprised as to how many people share your same sort of fantasies. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that's cringing of what I'm saying, but let me ask you guys something. You look me in the eye and you tell me that you've never ever watched an ecchi show once. You've never read a book that's something like 50 Shades of Grey once. You've never watched this before. You've never watched that before. You've never fantasized your favorite female or male in a bikini or in boxer shorts before. And also, it's the goddamn internet. I mean, come on. And you know what? I'm sure that most of you who is watching this video have all different sorts of fantasies. There's fantasies that you can practice in real life, but there's also fantasies that can't happen in real life. Because when it comes to stories, either unwritten or they're made into like a manga form or a comic form, and the characters are in these sort of situations, their reactions to what's happening to them is genuine to them. If you know what I'm trying to say. Hell, there's like loads of comics and loads of manga and loads of fan-made stories of certain fantasies or fetishes that they are into, and come on, you guys can't tell me that you're not into this sort of thing. We're all humans at the end of the day. Twitter has loads of this stuff, both live action stuff and animated stuff of ladies and guys. Hell, one of the big YouTube stars, Prince Vegeta, has plenty of that sort of stuff on his channel. And you know what? Even though I disagree having that sort of stuff in the Dragon Ball fandom, well, at the very least, he's promising what's on the label. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. Some of those works look really spicy. And I might be interested. Again, at the very least, Prince Vegeta is actually promising what's on the label. Unlike some people I know who uses sexy thumbnails for clout. And you know what? God bless Prince Vegeta. Although, to be fair, I would really like to see him do more cringe reviews. Those things are fun. So yeah, to all the girls and guys who likes fantasy and fetishes, you carry on because, again, I was wrong. Now, to the ladies of my audience, I just want to say something. There are female characters that I do like. They have the right proportions, they have personalities that I like, and in fantasy, they do things that could never happen in real life. But you girls are better than fantasy female characters because I can talk to you, we can be friends, we can hang out, we can talk about our interests, we can go on dates, and be boyfriend and girlfriend. Yes, fantasy girls in sexy situations is just that, fantasy. You are better than fantasy girls. You are superior to fantasy girls. Why? Because we can interact with each other, that's why. And all these stories and all these shows and all these books that have all these fantasies, they could never ever replace human beings. All these fetishes in stories is just that, fantasy. And there are some things that you can't do in real life. Again, like those butts from Cat Planet Cuties, or turning invisible. You know, that sort of thing. So you guys go and read your yaoi. You guys go and watch your fan service and ecchi shows. Again, even though fantasy cannot replace the real thing, because I do love the real thing, but I also like fantasy. So both reality and fantasy is a-okay. Well, that's it for me. And I'm pretty sure that some of you are probably cringing at this video. But hey, I just needed to say this, and say what needed to be said. So what do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you have any fetishes or fantasies? Do you agree or disagree on fantasy and reality? Please let me know in the comment section below, and let's get a discussion going. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out. Thank you guys for watching. And if there's a series you want me to check out and review and give my thoughts on it, or if there's a top 10 list you want me to do, or any reactions, or responses, or rants on anything geeky, just leave links and comments in the comment sections below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Don't forget to like, subscribe, put the bell on, share this video, and leave a comment in the comment sections below. And as for my social medias, I'm literally freaking everywhere! I'm on most video platforms, social medias, forums, and support sites. It's best to pause the video and see where I am. Literally all of this is down in the description box below. So if you want to go and check those out, please do. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out.